And you were buying a ring for another woman, and I loved you for it. And I thought that was wonderful.
Hello and welcome to Happily Ever Reality. I am so glad you're here. Today we are talking about My 5 Wives, Season 1, Episodes 7 and 8. I was about to upload this onto YouTube when I realized it's not Episode 7 and 8, it's Episode 8 and 9. I think I say the wrong episode numbers a little further in the video as well, but I'm letting you know right here it's 8 and 9. I'm going to put a link in the description box and up here to the playlist of the other videos I've done about this show. If you haven't watched the show or you haven't watched my previous videos, it might be a little bit difficult to jump in, so you'll want to go back to those. But otherwise, let's go ahead and get started. The show starts off with Rhonda heading in for a mammogram. We have found out this season that Rhonda is having some health issues. Her mother also had breast cancer, and that is how she lost her mother. So she is really taking all of this very seriously, as she should, and she is following up with all of the screenings the doctors want her to have. So that is how the show starts. We see Rhonda heading in for an appointment, and after that we see all of the other wives getting together to talk about what's going on with Rhonda and how they want to show her that they care about her. They want to do something special for her. So they decide they want to get together and thoroughly clean her house. Like, they want to give her a day to relax, and they want to clean, from ceiling to floor. They want the house to be spotless. So they decide to do that. Rosemary does make a point of saying during a confessional that Rhonda has a clean house. This isn't a situation where they're cleaning because Rhonda's dirty. Rhonda is clean, but they just want to go and kind of go the extra mile. They want to let her relax while they do all the cleaning, and it's just a way of showing that they care about her. The show goes back to Rhonda, who's in the car driving. She talks about her mother having breast cancer and what it was like because they were in the AUB. So when her mother found out she had breast cancer, it was already very advanced. But because the AUB didn't believe in medical intervention, her mother didn't get any treatment. Her mother just went home. And they believed that if you prayed and you asked for blessings, and if you were a good person, God would heal you. If that was his will, that was what was going to be done. Ultimately, that is how she lost her mother.
My mother did exactly what she was supposed to do. She was supposed to just have faith in God that he would heal her and give blessings and eat healthy.
Rhonda talks about how she feels conflicted because she wants to be aggressive if she has breast cancer. She wants to be there for her kids and do everything possible to make sure that happens. But she was taught that if she was a good person and prayed enough, she would be blessed and God would heal her. That is a lot of emotional conflict to have to deal with while you're also just scared of your health issues. And you can see this is hard for her, but she is confident in her decision to pursue medical treatment.
I truly believe that God inspires so many people, and that's why we have the treatments that we do have available medically.
So even though this is something that Rhonda is really struggling with, she does believe that God inspires people to find treatment and make medical advances, so she is going to pursue those treatments. She also wants to make sure that she does everything possible to be there for her kids as they grow up. So we see Rhonda go in for her appointment, and then we move over to Brady while he is at work. He says it's really hard to focus because he worries about Rhonda. This show continues from there with the family all getting together for dinner, and the show changes direction a little bit. We've been talking about all of this really heavy stuff, but then we see the other 4 wives, Brady, and all of the children at dinner, and it is just chaos. Like, it is so chaotic when they're all together. The boys are just being I don't like to do that thing where people say boys will be boys. Like, no. Any young person, any kids will be kids. That's more appropriate. But the boys are really standing out a little bit as being over the top with their behavior. Noni actually uses the word obnoxious. The boys are being obnoxious. They also aren't wearing shirts, and I guess that's a thing with the family, is a lot of the boys will come to dinner not wearing clothes, and the wives are sort of over it. All of the moms are like, this has gotten really out of hand, and they decide this is an issue they need to address. From the dinner scene, we go over to Rhonda's house. Now, Rhonda's not made it home yet from her appointment. Brady is at her house with the kids, but Rhonda comes home and tells Brady that there's no answers yet. You know, she has just had the mammogram that day. What they're going to do is compare the new mammogram to the old mammogram and see what changes there have been and what concerns they have, and that could take up to another week. So they're kind of in that waiting spot that can be difficult, but they will hopefully know soon and have some answers sometime within the week. We find out that even though Brady is over at Rhonda's house, it's not Rhonda's night. It's actually Noni's night, and he is going to head over to her house. But he talks about this. He talks about how, you know, he wishes he could stay there with Rhonda because she's going through stuff and she's just had this rough day. But he knows that if he says that he's going to stay, if he explains this to Noni, Noni will say, we'll stay with Rhonda. But then Rhonda will say, no, you need to go back over to Noni's house because it's really her night and she's going through things too. So even though he could bring it up and probably stay at Rhonda's, he says the wives really value that there's equality and they all get time with him, and that they really try to stick with the schedule for that reason. So even though he would like to stay, the wives would not agree to it.
If I went to Noni and I just said, listen, Rhonda's having a hard time, I know Noni would say, just go be with Rhonda. And then I know Rhonda would send me back over to Noni's.
Rhonda says that she does wish that she could spend more time with Brady, but understands that he still needs to go and spend time with the other wives as well. So she actually agrees with him. She seems okay with it. I mean, she's accepted it, right? They're polygamists and this is how they live and have lived this way for a long time. Now the show starts jumping around a lot, and we do a complete 180, and we went from talking about Rhonda's health issues again to talking about the boys misbehaving at dinner. The wives are all together, all of the wives, and they decide it needs to be dealt with. Like, they need to address this. The boys need to come to dinner with their shirts on, and they need to start using better manners. The show jumps from there to seeing Robyn and Rosemary talking about anniversaries. It's a tradition that the wives get a new ring on their 20th anniversary. So Rosemary's going to be getting her ring soon, and she's really excited. But we find out that this hasn't always happened smoothly. There's a little bit of history here. So Robyn tells Rosemary that she is afraid that this is going to hurt her to see Rosemary get her ring. And Robyn actually begins crying while she's talking to Rosemary. This is only going to make sense if I give you the backstory. So here it is. The tradition started with Polly, wife number 1. When it happened, Brady bought the ring in advance, and it was a complete surprise for Polly. You know, she was the first wife, and he was really excited to do it. He actually took Robyn with him to buy the ring. Now, at the beginning of this video, there was a clip of Robyn crying. That was her talking about going to pick out Polly's ring. She was so excited to do it. She was so excited to see Brady get this for Polly. And what happened was she kind of assumed it would go down that way for her. Like, it was all going to be exciting and he was going to be excited to do it. So she assumed that was how it was going to happen when their 20th anniversary came along. But it didn't go down that way at all.
Brady got Polly a ring for her 20th anniversary. And so when my anniversary came around, that's what I thought was going to happen. And it didn't.
It got me one a couple weeks later. It was actually after I told him I didn't want one. And so
ultimately, Brady did get her the ring, but he didn't have it on their anniversary date, and it was several weeks after their anniversary. So the issue really becomes that he wasn't excited to do it for her. He wasn't excited to get her this ring, and it made her feel like she was loved less than Polly, and that their anniversary wasn't as important to him. So this is something that makes her really sad. And when I was watching this, I mean, when I first was hearing the story, I was like, okay, you know, this is sad. I can understand that she's hurt, but there is actually part of this that made me start to get a little teary-eyed. She is genuinely heartbroken. She is so sad, and she's taking this very, very personally. Like, why didn't he put the time and effort into our anniversary and this gift for me? So Rosemary is listening to Robyn talk about it, and Rosemary is basically like, I don't even want to get my ring until this situation is handled. Like, I don't want to get my ring and make you feel sad for how it went down when you got yours. So Rosemary is really a good sister wife to Robyn. She cares that Robyn is sad. She also says, we need to go talk to Brady about this, and I will come with you and sit there for support. So that is ultimately what happens. They end up going to meet with Brady. Now, I hate to bring up Cody Brown and Sister Wives here, but I have to. Cody always makes this huge thing about how the wives shouldn't compare relationships. They don't need to worry about what's going on with the other wives. You know, in theory, that is probably the only way that polygamy would work without any flaws, is if you never ever compared your relationship to the relationship the husband has with the other wife. But that is impossible. That would literally be impossible to do. How would you live with the other wife and know her and know what was going on and never compare? It's just not going to happen. So we can see here that this is just a flaw in polygamy. Unless he is making things perfectly equal, there's going to end up being some hurt feelings. Now, the show is jumping around, so after Rosemary and Robyn talk, we end up jumping over to Rhonda's house. We see the wives all come over to visit her. They bring her some lunch, and they tell her to sit down and relax while they clean her house. And Rhonda is super thankful. She is so thankful that they're over there. She says she feels really loved, and it is clear that they all care about each other a lot. We go from seeing all of the wives cleaning at Rhonda's to seeing Brady meeting with the boys. He is going to tell them to wear their shirts to dinner and to start using good manners. The boys take issue with this, and they point out that this is how they've been living for years. So why do they need to change now? You know, they're doing good. They've been eating dinner without their shirts on and being gross, and why change? But Brady doesn't budge. He tells them they need to start wearing their shirts and they have to stop being gross. Honestly, though, it was kind of one of those things where he's telling them to do it, but he's joking around with them. I felt like he communicated with the boys really well. He doesn't yell at them. He's not belittling. He's not trying to make them feel bad. It wasn't aggressive. It was just a conversation to tell them about how the expectations are changing, but he had a sense of humor and joked around with them a bit about it. I liked it. I like how Brady acts with his kids. He seems as close to them as he can be, considering there are that many of them. After this, we see Brady meeting with Rosemary and Robyn. Rosemary doesn't really need to be there, but she is there to be supportive of Robyn when Robyn talks to Brady about the 20th anniversary ring. Robyn explains how she felt like he bought her the ring just because he had to. He only did it because he needed to do it for equality and because he had bought Polly one, but not because he had a sincere desire to celebrate their 20th anniversary and buy her this gift. So here's the thing you need to know. When Robyn is talking about this with Brady, she is really very, very emotional. She is so sad. She is really hurt. This is the part that made me get teary-eyed because you can tell this just devastated her.
You were so excited to give Polly one, and that's what you wanted for 20 years with Polly, and so it came around to me, and you just had to get me one because you have to be fair.
She mentions that not only did she not feel special, but it hurt even more because she had been there when Brady bought the ring for Polly. She had witnessed how excited he was to get the ring, how special it was, and she wanted that same experience for herself, but that wasn't what happened. Now, Brady recommends a do-over, and Robyn basically says that's not how it works. It can't just happen that way. But they do decide that, Brady can try to make this better. And he asked Robyn to put the ring on her dresser. He's going to stop by the house and get it. And then he's going to, I guess, try to get another ring. I really don't know what he's going to try to do, but he's going to try to make it better for her. Now, I have to say something. I'm going to throw in my opinion here. I really liked that Brady didn't tell her that she was wrong for feeling that way. He did try to say that, it was still special for him, but he never tried to tell her she shouldn't feel the way she feels. And some people will do that. They'll try to tell you that you shouldn't feel the way you do. So I like that he allowed her to say what she needed to say. And I also like that Rosemary encouraged Robyn to go talk to Brady. It seemed like Rosemary just really wanted this addressed. And I have a little bit of a suspicion that Rosemary understands how Robyn feels when it comes to Brady and Polly. In previous episodes, we have heard Rosemary talk about how she feels like Polly interferes with her time with Brady. So Polly always seems to be calling or needing Brady to come over to her house whenever Brady is with Rosemary. And then we've also seen that Rosemary had her own ring issues. Her wedding band needed repaired and Brady said he would do it, but he didn't do it for a really, really long time. So I feel like Rosemary can really empathize with Robyn when it comes to both the issue with Polly and Polly being the first wife and feeling like she's getting maybe a bit more time and attention. And then also the issue of the whole ring situation and not feeling special because the other wives have rings or their rings are repaired and can be worn. I just feel like Rosemary has this ability to empathize with Robyn. And Rosemary also says that her and Robyn get along very well. After this, we see the family get together for dinner. The boys really put in an effort to use their best manners and they all come fully clothed. And then finally, we see that Rhonda is back and she tells the results from the mammogram. Brady and her sit together to read them and we find out that there has been changes from the first mammogram to the second mammogram and they will now need to possibly do a biopsy to find out more.
But, she had one lump, now she has two, and they called them calcified.
Of course, this is not the news they wanted. They wanted to hear that she was healthy and there was no concerns, which is what anyone would want to hear, but that's just not the news they have yet. But before the show ends, we are reminded of how much the AUB faith still influences them, even though they no longer practice it. Rhonda mentions that she feels like she's just not being a good person by using medical intervention. She knows that she should do it and she's going to do it, but it still makes her feel bad. She was taught that this just isn't right to do and she should be asking God to heal her.
So I was totally raised that I am just not being a good person by doing this. Or if I was a good enough person, he would heal me,
Even though she feels this way, she is still going to let common sense prevail and she is going to go through with any treatments that are needed to get her through this. And that is where episode 7 ends, and let's get started on episode 8. This episode starts with Rhonda calling Brady's mother Stella. We find out that Stella had breast cancer, but because it was caught early and they pursued treatment, she survived. Now, I can't help but think this probably plays a role in how Rhonda is feeling. She has two people in her life that have taken two really different approaches when they got breast cancer. Brady's mom caught it early and pursued treatment, and she's still here. Rhonda's own mother, they didn't find out about it until it was advanced. She depended on her faith. They viewed medical intervention in a very negative way, so they didn't pursue any treatments, and now her mother is gone. So you can't tell me that doesn't play a role in everything that Rhonda is feeling and how she's trying to deal with her own health issues. After this, we see Brady meeting with a tattoo artist to discuss his tattoo design. I'm going to put a pic up of the old design. It'd been done by his daughter. There was a lot of symbolism in it. The branches and leaves. The leaves were supposed to represent the kids, and then there were going to be rings holding vines together. I'll put a picture up, but there was a lot of symbolism to it, had a lot of meaning to him. But I will tell you, it reminds me of the tribal arm tattoos that were popular. I think it was like in the early 2000s. That was such a trend to get the arm band tattoos. It reminds me of those. It feels a little bit dated. Now, the show was on in 2014, but even by then, I feel like it was losing its popularity. But, the tattoos are forever too. So whatever. If it means something to him, it means something to him. But the tattoo artist actually discourages him from doing it. He talks to Brady and gets Brady to consider actually getting a tree tattoo with branches and leaves on it. I definitely felt like there was a better choice than getting the band. Like, I feel like there must be another tattoo that Brady can get, but I don't really love the tree design either, but it's also not my tattoo, so whatever. If he likes it, he likes it. So the tattoo artist actually talks him into going that route. After this, we see Rosemary and Robyn sitting together talking, and Robyn makes a point of saying, when it comes to this ring issue, because that's what they're talking about, this anniversary ring, Robyn makes it clear that she doesn't think this has anything to do with Polly. Like, she was happy that Polly had a wonderful experience getting the ring. She also doesn't think it's just about the ring itself. She feels that this brought up the fact that there are insecurities in their relationship. I can't help but think some of that has to do with being the second wife and always thinking the first wife is the favorite. But Robyn makes the point of saying that's not it. But she also doesn't say what it is, so she just kind of leaves this out there without any more information.
I guess when it happened, it kind of did call up insecurities that both Brady and I had in our relationship. And
I guess it might not be really because it's Polly. It's just I think being the second wife or a wife in a plural marriage, you're going to compare yourself to other people, and there's going to be insecurities that you might not have if you were in a monogamous relationship and your partner was faithful. The show jumps around a lot, so I wanted to let you know that before I go through the next few scenes. We end up seeing Brady and Rosemary laying in bed chatting, and Rosemary tells Brady she doesn't want to get her 20th anniversary ring until everything has been dealt with when it comes to Robyn and her ring. She doesn't want to make Robyn feel worse, so she wants to wait to get hers. I think Rosemary's just being very considerate and very supportive of Robyn there. We end up seeing another scene where the kids are all making Valentine's cards, and Polly shares that her oldest son, Josh, is going to be going on that trip to Africa that we've heard about. He has an uncle in the Peace Corps, Josh does, and Josh has wanted to go be there with him, so he's finally doing that. And then after that, we see Rhonda come home from an ultrasound she had. She had another appointment that day, and there is still, there's no news. She just had the appointment, so there's nothing new as far as her health goes. We're still waiting to hear the results. Now, I will say Brady at this point tells Rhonda when they're talking, maybe you should just go have a second opinion. Maybe you should be finding out what other doctors say too, so we really know what we want to do next if there is an issue. We move from Rhonda to Polly. We end up seeing Polly and Brady together watching their oldest son Josh packing for that trip to Africa. He is going there to visit the uncle that's in the Peace Corps. Polly's role is really changing. There's a lot of change going on for her as a mother.
He's gonna go. He's actually gonna go. That went by fast. It came too quick.
Polly is having a little bit of a hard time. She has a few kids she has one daughter that's married. Now Josh is going to Africa. She has another daughter who's preparing for college. There's a lot of change for her when it comes to her role as a mother. So she's having a little bit of a hard time with it, but she's supportive. This isn't a mom who's trying to hold her kids back. She's supportive of them going on. She's just going to have to adjust to her new role in their lives. Next, we see the family all together to talk about the tattoo that Brady wants. Brady tells them that the tattoo artist has discouraged getting the band around his arm. He shows them the drawing of the new tattoo. So I'm going to put a picture up here again. This is the tree with the different branches and the leaves for each kid. Now, the wives are not on board the way they were about the armband. Rosemary actually says it looks like a dead tree, and to be honest, I kind of agree with her. But on the other side of this, if it means something to him and it's his tattoo and his arm, you know what? I guess it's up to him, right? So they're still supportive of him getting a tattoo. They're just not all on board for the tree the way they were before, and it's also going to be much bigger. I mean, this is a whole tree. Before it was just a little band. So not everyone's on board for the new design. After this, we see Brady over at Robyn's house, and they are laying in bed talking. Robyn is the one who, has the issues with the anniversary ring. So I just want to remind you, sometimes their names start to confuse me a bit. But Robyn is in bed with Brady, and she says that, it's really not about the ring. It symbolizes that there has been distance between us and there have been issues in our relationship, and I really want to work on those things. So she just wants to let Brady know it's not really just about the ring. She wants to be closer to him. Now after this, we see Brady go and get the tattoo, and he gets the tree. It's almost most of his upper arm. I'll put a picture up on the screen. After getting the tattoo, Brady heads to a flower shop because it's Valentine's Day. He gets flowers for all of the wives, and then he delivers them to each of the wives' homes. So at this point, he's wearing long sleeves and no one is seeing that tattoo. We sort of fast forward then to the whole family getting together for Valentine's Day, and Brady walks in the room and presents the tattoo. There are definitely mixed responses from the wives, but ultimately they all accept that this has meaning to him, so they're okay with it. After this, they do the Valentine's exchange, and what they do is the kids draw names, and then they only have to make a card for that one person, but they really make it. It's not just those store-bought cards where you put in a name. So they exchange their cards, and they really enjoy sharing them with each other, like, letting each other see what the other one has made, and I don't know, it was just a really cute scene. It seems like the kids are fairly close. Now, after this, after the Valentine's get-together ends, we see Noni head to the grocery store, and she is there to get groceries, but to also pick up a pregnancy test. They didn't really bring it up in this episode or the other episode, but remember, Noni wants to have another baby, and Brady has said yes, so they're trying for a baby. She goes to the pharmacy and she asks the pharmacist for the pregnancy test, and she makes a comment about having to share personal stuff with the pharmacist before she's ready.
You don't want to announce everything to the world, when you're not quite ready for it, but I'm announcing it to a complete stranger.
I just didn't quite understand, if she wasn't wanting to tell anyone, couldn't she just go to a store that doesn't have them behind the counter? I don't even know, where I live, if there are stores that keep them behind the counter anywhere. Otherwise, like CVS, Walmart, those kind of places, you just go and you can get them. You don't have to ask the pharmacist. And it was 2014. This show wasn't on ages ago. In 2014, it was still the same. So I'm a little bit surprised. If she doesn't want to tell anyone, I feel like there must have been a store that you didn't have to go ask for one at. Or did that store have them and she didn't need to even go to the pharmacist? But back to the point, Noni is getting a pregnancy test. It's possible that she is pregnant. And from there, we go on back to the Williams home, and we see Josh leaving for his trip to Africa. And then we jump again to a new thing, and that is Rhonda sharing the results that she has now gotten back from the ultrasound.
And I got the results of that today.
It's good news.
So she shares that she has received good news. They want to remove the lump, but there's no actual other concerns at this point. So she's going to have to go meet with a surgeon and have that done, but she is happy with the news that she's sharing. And of course, the family is as well. That is where the show ends. I will tell you, I felt like recapping these episodes was a little difficult because it goes from one thing to another. But it is still easier than talking about shows where there's multiple families or multiple couples. Sticking with one group of people is easier than that. So I felt like these episodes were good. I felt like there was a lot going on. I felt like there was a variety of issues. Some of it was lighter and heavier, and there was a lot there, but I liked it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. We have one more episode for this season, and then we'll move on to season 2. So if you haven't already, go ahead, click like and subscribe, leave a comment, and I hope you come back to Happily Ever Reality.